Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Well, good evening, everybody. Hey, it's Cutler here on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler platform, the Let's Talk to Cutler vlog, blog, or whatever we're calling this nowadays. I'm so glad to be here. It is Thursday the 24th. It is Thursday the 24th of February. Listen, the month is almost gone, but hey, we're still hanging on. We're hanging in there, and I'm glad to be here. How about you all? Are you just glad to be here? That's what I want to know today. Are you just glad to be here, glad to be alive, glad to be able to smile, glad to be able to clap your hands, glad to be able to talk, glad to be able to walk if you can, whether it's with assistance, without assistance, somehow. But you're just anybody just glad to be here. You know, this channel is about inspiration. It's about motivation. It's about challenging us to show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. So it means that we have to take a look and see what is within us that propels us to go on. What is within us that tells us that we have the strength to make it? What is within us that says, hey, you can make it. And when you show up tomorrow, guess what? You're going to be better tomorrow than you were today. Doesn't mean that today was a flop at all. It doesn't mean that today was a failure at all. It doesn't mean that there was anything bad about today, but it just means that there is something promising about tomorrow. I like that, you all. There's always something promising about tomorrow. I'll go off in a minute. I'll go off, but before I do, let me just say thank you for those of you who have been with me for the long haul, and thank you for those of you who just recently joined. Do me a favor, if you haven't already done so, subscribe. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and subscribe, and after you subscribe, click on that notification bell because it lets you know whenever I've gone live, whenever I've uploaded new content, that sort of thing. And as you're joining in, as you're coming into the chat room, just chat at somebody else and say, hey, you, call them by name and say, good to see you, glad to see you, glad to be here. Yeah, so I'm just glad about it. This for me is just one of those days where I'm just glad. And I tell y'all one reason why I'm glad. I'm here with my mom and my grandmom. So I'm really especially glad about that. So, yeah, there's a smile on my face. My mom, my grandmom, I got to see a couple of my uncles, one of my aunts, and I'm just glad to be here. All right, listen, let me shout out the LTTC VIPs for just a moment. Now, if you're new to the channel and you're thinking, what in the world is an LTTC VIP? It is a Let's Talk to Cutler, very important person. Now, just to be very clear, everybody who chats with me, everybody who joins the chat room, everybody who watches the replay is a VIP. It just so happens that I call the VIPs the first 3 people who jump to the chat room any given Tuesday or Thursday when we're here. And I just need to shout them out for just a moment. Let me go back and see who our LTTC VIPs. Well, look at there, you all. Tracy Johnson says, hey, everyone, ready for the ride? Because you do know that we're riding down the highway of life. We're doing this thing together. We've actually created a caravan. And as we are in this caravan, there's always room for other people. Let's see. Let's go on. Our next VIP, T. Cutler says, happy Thursday. Again, there's that reference to ride. Tracy says, ready for the ride. T. Cutler says, happy Thursday. Let's ride. Let's go to the next one. Annie Cutler says, let's ride. There's this reference to the ride, and the ride is all about us taking this journey together. It is about acknowledging that we are on this highway in life, and as we are on this highway in life, we're riding along this highway, and we're not losing anybody who's under our influence. We're not losing anybody with whom we are connected. We're not losing anybody over whose life we are called to be a good steward. So we're making sure that as we get to this place that's called better, we're not getting there by ourselves. Well, you all do know this. For the past few weeks, we've been reading this book right here, reading from this book, When I Am Overwhelmed, How to Handle Life at Its Most Intense Moments. And my goodness, we've really talked about some intense moments, some things that many of us are experiencing. We've talked about things that if we are not experiencing, then they are being experienced by people whom we know. And it has just been refreshing for me to be able to create this space and this platform where we can talk about on a very practical scale. Of course, you all do know that although I talk many times faith-based, it is also an element of practicality. because we are not just spiritual people, but we're also very physical people. So when I chat and we're mental people, we're intellectual people. And when I chat about all of those things, I like to approach us from a whole perspective. If we're talking about trying to, or not just trying, but we are handling life and handling these most intense moments, and we're handling these overwhelming moments. You've got to be practical. You've got to be strategic. Yes, we can be spiritual and prayerful and all of that, and it is wonderful and it works. But there also has to be an element of what I call practicality, and an element of being very strategic, an element about being intentional about what we can do. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about this evening is the fact that young people. I don't want us to lose fact of the. I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that young people can become overwhelmed. There are things in life that overwhelm them. They seem to have this whole menu of things that can overwhelm them that we are sometimes oblivious to, we're numb to, we're ignorant of. And ignorant does not necessarily mean something, it doesn't have a negative connotation. Ignorant just means without knowledge. Many times our young people are going through things that we just don't have any knowledge of. Let me know if you have any young people in your life. Let me know if you have any teenagers in your life, any preteens or even pre-preteens. But let me know that in the chat, because I really want to make sure that we tailor our conversation tonight around how we can help them. This chapter 7 that we're going to talk about, chapter 7 in this book. And by the way, if you want the book, just run on over to Amazon.com and get it. It is my 6th book. Just going over to Amazon.com. And you'll see that this book, it is true. It is true to the essence of why I write. It is true to the essence of how I write. This book presents messages of hope, inspiration, and motivation. And many of you joined when I was going over the book, Billboards to Better. Again, it is about hope. It is about seeing how we can show up better. I'd like to think that my books are written to offer hope and to offer encouragement, because God only knows we have enough discouragement every day. We have enough negativity every day. So I wanted this platform to be one where we can just come together and breathe. And I call this platform a community of winners, a community of people who are in search of that space that's called better, a community of people who are responding to the call to be better, who are responding to the call from destiny to win, who are responding to the call from destiny to be victorious, who are responding to the call from destiny, because destiny calls us to be better. Destiny calls us to be victorious. Destiny calls us to be more than conquerors. I just believe that. I believe that there is a divine calling from destiny that calls us to be who we were created and have been created to be. All right. So much for all that, because you all know I just go off. All right. And I only have 1,800 seconds. So let me just keep on going. But you all, let me say this. Chapter 7 says, use your mind, your heart, and your mouth. I in particular wrote that. Deborah, my friend Deborah Dade, it is so good to see you. You all, do me a favor. If you haven't greeted Deborah or said hi to Deborah, make Deborah feel real good. Go on and say hi to her. All right. But listen, chapter 7 is about using your mind, your heart, and your mouth. I believe that if we're going to handle those most intense moments in life, then what we do, chapter 7 is about using everything that is within you. It is about using everything that is within you, your skills, your gift, your intuition, your talents, your abilities, your charisma, all of these things. Because many times when we think about what is within us and our gifts, we think about the ability to do stuff with our hands. But your ability to smile at someone and make their day is a gift. Your ability to calm people when they are on 10 or on 100 and you can bring them back down to 50, that's a gift. Your ability to walk into the room and change the energy from negativity to positivity, that is a gift. And again, many times we ignore and we overlook the gifts that we have. So chapter 7 is about using everything that is within you. It is about doing an assessment of all of the gifts and the talents that you possess. It is about knowing what's in your arsenal. if you're going to do battle with this thing called life, if you're going to put yourself in the running to respond to destiny that calls you to be better, then know, for goodness sake, know all of your gifts, know everything that's in your arsenal. Sometimes people can simply smile and it changes my entire perspective. There are people who can say hello, and there's something about the way they say hello, it brings calm to an otherwise chaotic day. Do y'all know people like this? Many of you are like that, who have the ability to speak softly, but in speaking softly, you speak out of strength, and you speak out of this fortitude, and you speak out of this assuredness, and you speak out of this intentional things that says, although I'm speaking softly, I'm speaking firmly, I'm speaking out of conviction that says everything is going to be all right. And when you speak to people with that firmness and with that conviction in your voice, they feel that everything is going to be all right just because you said it. I don't know why I'm spending so much time with this, but maybe it's because tonight, before we even get into chapter 7, it is about reminding you that there are gifts inside of you. There is value inside of you. There is goodness inside of you. There is strength inside of you. And before we can start pulling out all of that stuff, we've got to know what's in us. I challenge every one of us tonight to go to the mirror at some point and just stand there and do an assessment and say, what good is inside of me? Wow. Can someone just put that in the chat for just a moment? What good is inside of me? Because people have told us for so long. They point out the negative, they point out the bad, they point out the imperfections, they point out all of our shortcomings, they point out all of that stuff. But how many times do they point out the good and the strength and all of that? And unfortunately for many of us, my fellow passengers, my fellow passengers and riders along the highway of life, unfortunately for many of us, we've heard the negativity and we've clung to it. We've heard it and we've digested it. We've heard it and we've taken it in. We've heard it and we've processed it, and we've made it become a part of our physiology, of our psychology, of our emotions, and all of that. But tonight I come with an offering. My offering is the power to look inside yourself and see the good that lies within. What good? Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Linda. What good is inside of me? And as I think about that, as I think about what good is inside of me, I'm telling you this. We're going to get to it. We're going to do word guard tonight because some of you asked. Yes, we're going to do word guard. But I want you to understand that there is good inside of you. And we're going to pull out some of it. We're going to pull out some of that tonight. Thank you, McDonald. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Don't ever be ashamed. Don't ever be embarrassed. Don't ever be afraid to let the good that is within you rise to the surface. Don't let the good that is within you, don't be afraid to let it rise to the surface, because others will try to oppress, depress, and suppress it. Many times because they want what you have. Many times because they see the good in you and it intimidates them. Many times because they see the good inside of you and it disturbs them. Many times it is because they see the good that is within you and they are jealous of it. We don't have to be jealous of each other, because we are like puzzles on this thing called Earth. We're like puzzles. We're like pieces of the puzzle. We all fit jointly together. And guess what? The picture is not complete until my piece is added. The picture is not complete until my piece is added. And so, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, because the little light that I have adds to the big picture. It adds to the big piece. McDiner, I think you've done something by sharing that song, because there's a little light within all of us. And guess what? We don't have to make it shine. All we have to do is let it shine. It's a part of our arsenal. Song goes on to say, everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. And I won't be embarrassed to say that this is the light that I have. And it is just a part of me. It is just who I am. It's what I do. I have a piece that makes the whole picture complete. The picture is not complete without your piece. The picture's not complete without your piece. And that is not with respect to color, gender, or age, ethnicity, any of that. We all fit jointly together to make the picture whole. To make the picture whole. All right. So I want to talk about just chapter 7 for just a moment. I only have 1,800 seconds. So y'all see how I just sit there and keep going. But I hope that was for someone this evening to remind you. To remind you, don't be ashamed of your gifts and talents and your skills and your abilities and any of that. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed, or don't let anybody try to intimidate you or make you think less. You know, there's this movie that came out years ago. That's right, Donnell. The picture's not complete without your piece. And let me say this. Let me say this. Movie came out years ago. It was called The Color Purple. And one of the characters was walking through this field of flowers. And she said, it must piss God off how we can walk past the color purple and not even notice it and not even acknowledge it. If I can coin a phrase, if I can paraphrase that, it must be an insult to the Creator when you can look at yourself every day and you won't even acknowledge the good that is within you because of what somebody else said, because of what somebody else did, because of what power somebody else thought that they lorded over you, because of the manipulation that somebody else did. Do you know that many of us who are adults, we're still dealing with the manipulation that people, the games that they played on us years ago? But we are hanging in there. We are hanging in there. And so whatever manipulation, whatever manipulative schemes that people exercised over us, thank God for the light that one day did shine, that pierced the darkness and made a way for us to walk through and walk out of that, so that we can come to a space and a place like this where we can talk about the gifts that reside within us. All right. Chapter 7 talks about using your mind, your heart, and your mouth, everything that is within you, to handle these most intense moments. And the chapter opens up. Go ahead and do a thumbs up on the conversation if you don't mind. It lets YouTube know that you enjoy the conversation. It says to me that you're encouraged by our dialogue, because it is indeed a dialogue. As I'm reading the chats, the things that you have to say to me and the things that I'm saying to you, it's a dialogue. Chapter 7 opens with giving you all some background about my upbringing in the church, in particular the Black Pentecostal church, and how they would be very rhythmic, and the preacher would say things. There was this wonderful art of preaching and tuning up and doing all this squalling and tickling people's emotions like this. And they would say things like, high five your neighbor and say this to your neighbor. Or this is pre-pandemic, obviously, because nobody's high fiving these days. They would say high five your neighbor and say this. It was the intention was to involve you in the message. So they would say high five your neighbor. They would say grab the person's hand beside you and just shake that hand like you're gonna shake it off, or just look them eyeball to eyeball. Have any of you all heard these sayings? Let me know if you've heard these sayings. High five your neighbor, shake your neighbor's hand, look them eyeball to eyeball. And then they would say if there was not enough, not enough response. They would say things like, "Oh my goodness, am I helping anybody?" Or "Where are the believers?" Or "Am I talking to anybody today?" Have you all ever heard anything like that? Listen, that's just a part of my upbringing, my church background, and I certainly don't despise it. It's just a part of my experience. But yes, hug the person next to you. I mean, all of that. But interestingly enough, you all, when I think about all of that, as you will find me going to turn to you, that yeah, you all have heard it. There you go. I know you all have heard it. Interestingly enough, as I think about that, and I think about my experience in the church as a young person, and I'll read what I wrote. I am especially concerned because young people are overwhelmingly pressured by so many things. And while the adult parishioners in church, when I was going to church, as a young person, the the young people could become overwhelmingly pressured by so many things, and it was easy or seemed simple for the older people to go to church and have this emotional release, right? Just stick with me for a moment. It was easy when I was younger. I watched the older people go to church and they had this emotional release, and I always thought, well, what about the young folk? Do they not have pressure throughout the week? Do they not have moments that could overwhelm them? And I did not want to ignore the plight of the young people. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I wrote that young people face potentially overwhelming situations every day. I was reading the chat. That's why I paused. But I wrote that young people experience and they face potentially overwhelming situations every day. Listen to this, you all. In school, they are expected to perform and exceed regardless of their intellectual capacity. How many of you, how many of us may have had parents and family members and teachers who expected you to perform and sometimes exceed? And they did not necessarily consider, anybody's intellectual capacity. And God help you if you came from a family of overachievers and maybe you were not the overachiever out of 8 children. But there was the expectation, potentially overwhelming. And then their families and friends often expect them to conform to social behavior, typical social behavior of their peers, regardless of their individual personality types. Why can I write about that? I can write because, as you all know, I've been very transparent in my writings that children were expected to conform to the typical social behavior of their peers, regardless of their individual personality types. I was very introverted. And to many people, I did not seem like an introvert because I overcompensated by being academically, I excelled academically. And because I excelled academically, no one necessarily took a look at how I felt socially. Socially, as an adult, I discovered that what I wrestled with as a child was social anxiety disorder. Feeling not a part. And so for me, during the lunch hour, I'm just going to share this with you all. During the lunch hour, when I was in high school, all 4 years of high school for me, I would not go to the cafeteria. I would take my lunch. I would go to the commons area, and I would sit next to a wall, and I would have a book. Because to those who were walking past me, the fact that I had a book looked like this academic guy was so focused on the books until he didn't want to bother to go to the cafeteria. But it wasn't that I didn't want to bother to go to the cafeteria. It was because I felt out of place there. I felt out of place. And so I just want to share this with you all. Check in on your children. Check in on them. Check in on their mental development, their mental health, their social development, their social health. Check in on your children. And I certainly don't fault in anyone who didn't do that, because many times, people were just doing life. And I thank God that I'm okay. I thank God that I'm okay. But the reality is socially awkward is what I was. And when I share that with many of my friends who went to high school with me, they go, "Wow, I I never thought that. You always had a book. You always were writing something. You always were reading something." They didn't pay attention to the fact that I was withdrawn every lunch break. All right? And I'm just really sharing that with you all from a true place of transparency. Check on your children. Check on them. All right? Because as I wrote, they are expected to conform to the typical social behavior of their peers, regardless of their individual personality types. Classmates of these children expect them to dress a certain way, regardless of their economic condition of their individual homes. It is just the expectation that they're going to look like their peers. They're going to dress like their peers. And maybe they can't afford it. And it overwhelms them. And they're dealing with a lot internally. So when I say that they have a plethora of things that they are dealing with that we don't necessarily think about, stop and talk to the young people who are in your life for God's sakes, for your sake, and for theirs. Talk to them. And the older group of young people, I'm just really, you want to know where in the book was I also transparent? It's right here. It is right here. This is me writing from my own experience. And the older group of young people are sometimes pressured, encouraged, and expected to become sexually active. It is the expectation, it is the norm. While lessons of abstinence and self-discipline become a thing of the past. That's just the norm of the day. Listen, I haven't even tapped into things like drugs and the like. I haven't tapped into things like smoking. I haven't tapped into things like alcohol. I haven't tapped into things like dating. I haven't even talked about any of that. But more times than we can imagine, our young people, our young people are exploited, mistreated, bullied, teased, ignored, betrayed, disregarded, and abused. And the abuse that they suffer is not always sexual or physical. Many times it's emotional, mental, and even spiritual. They are sometimes abused by the very adults who claim to love them. They are abused by the dogmatic rigidity of older adults who want to orchestrate their lives without allowing room for creativity or growth. Allow your young people to be creative. Allow your young people to grow. Chapter 7, as you see, when you go into chapter 7, it says for the young and the elderly. We're going to come back to it. We're going to talk about it some more, because I know this is heavy to think that, oh my God, there are young people in my life. There are older people in my life. And have I not paid attention to them? Have I not been a good steward? It is not to bring judgment or ridicule to any of us. It is to turn the light on for us to say, if I'm going to be better, I just want to pay a little more attention to my young people because I want them better too. If I am going to handle life at its most intense moments, I want to empower them to be able to do the same thing. If I'm going to talk about when I am overwhelmed, I need to give them the audience to be able to say to me, hey, I'm overwhelmed, and then to talk to them or just listen. This is homage to our young people. It says, let's not forget them. Because I don't know the age range of this audience, of all of us, but I don't want us to forget one of our most valuable assets, our young people. They are not only our future, but they are the hope in our present. So many times, and I'm going to move on. So many times we stop and we talk about young people and we say, oh, they are our future. I get that. I don't disregard it at all. I don't count that out. But they are also the hope in our present. Because of them, we have expectation that tomorrow will be a brighter day. And when do we have the expectation? We have the expectation now. We have the expectation now. Listen, let's remember to speak positivity over our lives and over their lives. Do me a favor. Let's go to word guard for just a moment. Let's go off by doing word guard. I'm going to pick the letter T. And I want you all to fill in the blank and says, I am, and fill in that blank with the letter T, because we're going to speak positivity over our lives, over the lives of everybody who's connected to us. And in particular tonight, we're going to speak positivity over the lives of our young people. And so let's conclude by saying things like, I am, and fill in the blank, or the young people in my life are, and fill in the blank. And this is what I want you to do. Even if they don't behave as if they are that, speak those things that, y'all don't make me do this, speak those things that are not as though they already were. I am, yes, I am thankful. I am thankful. I have a bunch of gratitude. I am talented. And I can look at myself and I don't have to bow down and I don't have to cower over the fact that I'm talented. I'm talented. And I make no apologies for it. I am terrific when I consider myself on a whole scheme. I am terrific. I am an amazing person. I am an awesome person. I am terrific. Terrific. You all keep throwing them out there. I am, there you go, Yvonne. I am tenacious, which means that I'm persistent. I don't give up. I have this stick to itness. I don't quit easily. I am tenacious. And then I love it, Linda. I am a living testimony. I'm a testimony of what it looks like to make it through. I'm a testimony of what it looks like to hold on. I'm a testimony of what it looks like to overcome. I am a testimony. I'm an example to the young people in my life. I get you, Jed. I am thankful. Every morning, every noonday, every evening, I stop and I realize that I have so much to be thankful for. So I count my blessings. I am trustworthy. Thank you, Annie Cutler. I am trustworthy. You can trust me. If I say it, I'm going to be true to my word. I'm not going to waver when I say something, but I am trustworthy. Yeah, Donnell, I'm with you. I'm thankful. The young people in my life are thoughtful. There you go, fabulous me. The young people in my life are thoughtful. They are considerate. They just don't think about themselves. I see you and McDinah were using the same word. They just don't think about themselves, but they consider others. And not only do they consider others, but they are very intentional about the things that they do. So they are thoughtful. MV, I'm with you. They are tactful. I am tactful. They are tactful. It means that I can handle difficult situations. I can handle these difficult situations. So if I have to develop a strategy, if I have to develop a tactic, if I have to develop a maneuver, I'm tactful. I can handle difficult situations. And then I am true. I am, thank you, T. Cutler. I am true. I have integrity. And I am honest. And I am true. Thank you, Angie. And I am teachable. I don't assume, I don't assert or purport to know everything. And what I know, I can share with others. And then I realize that my vessel is not always so full until I can't absorb just a little more, but I am teachable. My grandmother has always said to me, you're never too old to learn. You're never too old to learn. And so, yes, let us always remain teachable. And then I am tireless. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. And why do I say I'm not giving up? Because here's the thing, you all, there are some things that I may get tired from. Y'all hang on. There are some things that I may get tired from, but I don't necessarily get tired of. I may get tired from working. I may get tired from talking a lot, but I'm not tired of it. I may get tired sometimes just from doing life. How many of you all know that sometimes we get tired just from doing life? but I'm not tired of doing life. How about that? I am tenderhearted. I love it. I'm tenderhearted. I'm loving. I'm considerate. I'm compassionate. I think about people. I think about people. I don't take people for granted. Anything else? Come on, you all talk to me. Just a few more. Just a few more. A few more of these T's. What about this? What about I am thorough? I am complete. I am lacking nothing. I have everything that the Creator intended for me to have. I am thorough. And I am thorough so much to the point where I consider the details that are in my life. I consider the details that are in my life. All right? And may I say this to you all, that tonight I am thrilled. I am thrilled. I'm above happy. I'm above just being slightly joyful. But I am thrilled. My good friend Auntie, it's so good to see you. Lord, you're supposed to Sunday, bless me, assist me, and stand on the word during the medical procedures today. I bless God for you. Thank you for considering others. Auntie, you know I'm gonna, yeah, I got you. You know I'm gonna check on you. But listen, so we're speaking positivity. We're speaking positivity. And may I give you all one more word. I am thriving. I'm thriving. I'm not just hanging in there and holding on. I'm not just surviving. I'm not just maintaining. I am not just making it, barely making it, but I'm thriving. We're all thriving. We have moments that seem to overwhelm us, but you all, guess what? We are thriving. I told you sometimes you have to speak those things that are not as though they were. Speak them like they are here. I may have had one of the most difficult days today of the week, but guess what? When I consider the whole scheme, when I take the totality of the circumstances of the day and of the week, I'm thriving. And I'm triumphant. I am triumphant. You all, we all have victory. Yes, we all have victory. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you all for sharing this space with me this evening. I want to thank you for tossing out these words. I want to thank you. Lala, good to see you. I want to thank you for sharing this space, for sharing these words. You all, let's do this. Let's continue. Let's continue to build community. Yes, I hear you. I hear you, Lala. Yes, I'm thankful. I am here. I'm hopeful. Let's continue to build community. Let's continue to maintain connectivity. Keep your heads up. Keep your hopes up. Hope says, I have expectation that things are going to get better. I have expectation that the young people in my life will not be left behind. I have expectation that when I am old, I will not be left behind. Keep your hopes up. You all stay safe, stay sane. And please make sure that you join me right here. I'm here every Tuesday and Thursday live at 8 o'clock, and I try to show up at least 1,800 seconds live. Please know this, that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. If you need the book to join the conversation, run on over to Amazon.com, pick it up. You can run over to Amazon.com and just Google, or when you get there, just put in the search for Gregory Brad Cutler or the title of the book, and you'll find it. You'll find it. It's hardback, softback, electronic. It's there. I'm going to say good night to all of you. Again, from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. Good night, everybody.